I once thought the worst day of my life was when I lost my job at the firm. Turns out, that was just life giving me a courtesy tap on the shoulder before it shoved me face first into the pavement. It started, as many catastrophes do, with a goldfish. It was a Saturday. I remember that because I'd finally gotten around to replacing the light bulb in the garage, the kind of thrilling domestic victory you celebrate in your 30s. My wife, Natalie, was in the kitchen, humming along to some indie folk band that sounded like a group of baristas who found instruments at a yard sale. Our daughter Emma was holding a goldfish in a clear plastic bag, beaming like she'd just met royalty. We had just come back from the school fair. I named him Tofu, she declared. The fish, not the band. Tofu the goldfish? I said. She nodded, already grabbing a vase we never used. Natalie smiled, leaning over the counter with a glass of wine. Early for noon. She picked him out all by herself, she said, pride in her voice. I remember thinking she looked tired, but in that effortless way where tired still meant beautiful. That moment should have been etched in my mind forever. Instead, it became a sort of cruel before photo. The moment before everything cracked like cheap porcelain. See, they don't warn you that betrayal doesn't show up like a burglar. It shows up like a house guest. It laughs in your kitchen. It helps name your child's goldfish. It drinks your wine. That night, we watched a movie together, something forgettable, with too much CGI and not enough heart. Natalie sat beside me, wrapped in a blanket, feet tucked under my leg. She even laughed when I pointed out that the hero's sidekick looked like my old college roommate. Everything was normal. Or maybe it was just rehearsed, polished. A scene she perfected. I didn't know yet that the real movie was happening somewhere else. That the credits would roll on us soon. But before all of that, before the fire, the lies, the voice messages that turned my stomach to dust, there was Tofu. A stupid fish in a plastic bag, swimming in circles. Oblivious. Just like me. 2 days later, Natalie made pot roast. Now, I don't know how many men have had their lives implode over pot roast, but I suspect more than a few of us can say it marked the last peaceful supper before the earthquake. It was good, too. Meat fell apart like it owed her money. She even lit candles. Tuesday night. Candles. Just felt like doing something nice, she said, smiling over the rim of her wine glass. Our daughter chattered away about a story she was writing, something with dragons and a robot chef named Carl. I smiled, trying to keep up, but part of me was distracted. Natalie looked happy. Not our usual, we're both tired and coasting on obligation kind of happy. No, she was glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. You're in a good mood, I said. She shrugged. Work's been less stressful. And that should have been it. Should have let it go. But something in her tone made me look up too smooth. Too polished. I've worked in corporate law. I know when someone's running a script. After dinner, I started cleaning up while Natalie went upstairs for a bath. As I scrubbed the roasting pan, a knock hit the front door. Sharp. Confident. 2 knocks and a pause, like someone who wasn't afraid to interrupt. I wiped my hands and opened it. The man on my porch looked like he'd stepped out of a high-end cologne commercial. Tapered suit, tan skin, the kind of jawline you could slice cheddar on. I didn't know him, but he smiled like we were old pals. Hi, he said. You must be Logan. I blinked. Yeah, and you are? He extended a hand. Chase. I work with Natalie. Now, there are moments in life when your instincts start screaming, and you shove them into a closet. I should have listened to mine. Oh, I said. Didn't know she had coworkers dropping by. He chuckled, all casual confidence. I was just in the neighborhood. Thought I'd return her notebook. She left it at the office. She mentioned she needed it tonight. He held up a slim leather journal. Natalie's. No doubt. She's upstairs, I said, stepping back slightly. Want me to grab her? He shook his head, stepping inside anyway. Nah, I'll wait. Don't want to interrupt bath time. That made me pause. I hadn't said anything about a bath. But he just smiled, eased onto the armrest of the couch, and started looking around like he owned the place. You've got a nice home, he added. Very. Settled. Settled. Like he was sampling the merchandise. Upstairs, I heard water drain. Footsteps. Chase stood, straightened his tie. She'll want this right away, he said, holding the notebook like it was sacred. Natalie came down the stairs in her robe, wet hair clinging to her shoulders. She froze halfway, eyes darting from him to me. Chase, she said slowly. What are you doing here? He just smiled. Returning what's yours. Her hand gripped the railing. I watched her face, smile flickering, recovering. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, he said. Good night, Natalie. Logan. And just like that, he left. Door shut. Silence. You didn't tell me you had coworkers making house calls, I said, keeping my voice even. She bit her lip. I forgot my notebook. It's no big deal. No big deal, I repeated, nodding. Funny how he knew you were in the bath. She stared at me. For a split second, just a flicker, I saw fear. Then it vanished. You're reading too much into it, she said, and walked past me into the kitchen like she was late for a meeting. That night, I didn't sleep. Because something was off. Off like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong spot. Off like the smell of smoke when you can't find the fire. I didn't know it yet, but the fire was in my house. Wearing my wife's robe. Holding a glass of wine like nothing was burning. But it was. It started with a hunch. Ended with a photo. 3 days after Chase's little cameo, Natalie went away for the weekend. A spa trip with the girls. She kissed me on the cheek, packed her favorite overnight bag, the one she only used for business trips, and took the silver SUV we bought last spring. Emma was at a sleepover. I was alone. I could have gone golfing. Watched a movie. Drowned in whiskey and Netflix. But no. I sat on the couch staring at the front door like it might confess something. By 10 p.m., my curiosity outgrew my self-respect. I opened her laptop. Now, I'm not proud of that. But let's not pretend marriage is sacred when someone's already set fire to the altar. Her laptop was always left out, open like a trust fall. No password. Because only guilty people lock things, right? She'd left her email signed in. Big mistake. There it was, a message in the archive folder, buried under dozens of shopping receipts and work updates. Subject, Saturday's hotel info kiss mark. I clicked. Room 418. Usual place. I'll bring the wine. You bring that smile that ruins me. See? I sat back. Eyes locked on the screen. Room 418. The usual place. This wasn't new. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a standing appointment. The wine? Probably Merlot. She always brought Merlot when she wanted to set a tone. I used to think that tone was for me. I stared at the message, reading it over and over like it might suddenly start making sense. But it never did. I printed it. Quietly. Slid it into a folder with other things I hadn't wanted to collect. Receipts, a scarf I didn't recognize, a credit card charge for a hotel restaurant when she told me she was at a conference. It all started stacking. Like bricks in a wall I never asked to build. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just documented. Because here's the thing about betrayal, it thrives on confusion. But I wasn't confused anymore. I was clear. Crystal clear. Sunday night, she came back smelling like lavender and hotel soap. Said her massage was amazing. I smiled, nodded, and asked how Monica was doing. She didn't flinch. Oh, she's great. We had a blast. You would have hated the music, though. I nodded again. I believe you. And in a way, I did. I believed she'd had a blast. Just not with Monica. Later that night, I folded her spa towel and tucked it neatly into her linen closet. Right next to the folder. My quiet, growing file of truths. Truths she didn't know I knew. Yet, it's a strange thing, pretending not to know. Like walking through your house with the power shut off, stepping around furniture you know by muscle memory, except now you're aware that somewhere in the dark, there's a snake curled under the couch. I didn't say a word for days. I kissed Natalie goodbye each morning. I asked about her day. I folded laundry next to her on the couch like nothing in me was unraveling. And she played her part, too. Smiling just enough, laughing just right. The world's most convincing impostor. But the cracks were widening. You don't notice the performance at first. The way someone who loves you becomes someone who studies you. You speak, and their eyes don't light up, they analyze. Waiting to see if you figured it out yet. You joke, and they laugh half a second late, like they're buffering your personality on slow Wi-Fi. That was Natalie now. Her phone, once left on countertops and couches without care, started following her around like a shadow. Bathroom? Phone. Shower? Phone on the counter. Folding laundry? Tucked in her hoodie pocket, always screen down. And the texts? She'd glance at her phone and smile quietly. The kind of smile you reserve for something or someone that makes your heart skip a beat. Not the kind you give your husband of 10 years while he's sorting socks. One night, she took a call on the porch, whispering like she was auditioning for a spy thriller. I stood behind the curtain, watching her silhouette pace in the moonlight, hand on her hip, voice hushed but happy. When she came back in, I was already sitting at the table with 2 glasses of wine and that folder, her greatest hits of infidelity, sitting underneath a placemat. She sat across from me. "What's the occasion?" she asked, her voice smooth but tight. "Just felt like wine," I said. "Been a long week." She nodded, took a sip, didn't ask questions, didn't want to, because deep down, she knew I knew. We sat there for a while, sipping in silence, like two people on the edge of a war neither wanted to admit had already started. Friday, 6:45 p.m. I told her I had a work dinner. I didn't. She told me she was having drinks with Monica. She wasn't. I parked 3 blocks from the hotel, sat in my car, engine off, heart pounding like I was the one doing something wrong. I waited, and like clockwork, Natalie's SUV slid into the hotel's parking lot. She wore that Longton coat I bought her last Christmas, the one she only pulled out for networking events. Her hair was up, her lipstick red. She looked like a stranger. She walked in alone. 15 minutes later, Chase arrived. Black car, tailored blazer, sunglasses at dusk. Confident, relaxed, like he didn't know the story he'd stepped into had a much uglier ending than he thought. I didn't follow. I didn't barge in. No confrontation. No shouting match in the lobby. Instead, I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed 2 words. Phase 2. You might wonder why I didn't just confront her, sit her down, slam the folder on the table, and demand the truth. But I didn't want the truth. I had the truth. What I wanted was understanding, not from her, but from myself. I wanted to understand how I got here. What kind of man lets this happen? What kind of marriage eats itself alive while everyone smiles through the decay? And more importantly, what kind of revenge doesn't land you in prison, but still makes the earth shake? I spent that weekend alone. Didn't text her. Didn't call. She returned Sunday evening, humming to herself as she stepped through the door like she hadn't just detonated our vows in room 418. I met her at the door with a smile. "Good weekend?" I asked. She blinked, surprised. "Yeah, really relaxing." She leaned in for a kiss, and I let her. Just enough to feel the weight of the lie on her lips. "Glad you're home," I said, stepping aside. "Dinner's in the oven." She hesitated. "You cooked?" "Of course," I said. "You've been working so hard." That night, we ate roast chicken and asparagus while she told me a fake story about Monica's horrible date with some guy named Brent. I laughed at all the right parts, nodded in all the right places, because I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her audience, and the show was almost over. By Monday, I had what I needed. I made copies of the emails, the photos, the credit card statements. I backed up her texts. Yes, there's software for that. I had her messages to Chase, the ones she deleted every night like clockwork, still warm from the server. I opened a new bank account, transferred half my paycheck there. Not illegal, just smart. I started sleeping in the guest room under the excuse of snoring issues. She didn't protest. Of course she didn't. She thought the lie was working. But here's the thing about liars. They always think they're smarter than the people they lie to. It's not the betrayal that gets you. It's the arrogance. And I was going to let that arrogance do all the heavy lifting. You see, I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to smash windows or write sad poems or chase her through parking lots. No. I was going to dismantle everything she had quietly. Let her keep smiling. Let her keep thinking she'd won. Because what she didn't know was this. The house was already burning, and I was the one who lit the match. The day she almost caught me was the day I realized I'd grown too confident. It was a Tuesday. Rain on the windows, Emma at soccer practice, Natalie upstairs in the shower singing that same off-key indie tune she'd played the night she brought pot roast and lies to the dinner table. I was in the study, not working, just compiling. I had a spreadsheet open, labeled renovation costs, but tucked behind it was the real work, folders of her texts, emails, call logs. Every minute of Chase Donovan's charming existence cross-referenced and time-stamped. And then it happened. "Hey, babe." Her voice floated down the hall like a warning bell. "Where's the phone charger?" "In the drawer next to the printer." I called back, trying not to slam the laptop closed like a teenager caught with contraband. She walked into the room in her bathrobe, hair damp, towel slung over her shoulder, eyes immediately locking on the screen. I turned it toward the wall, casually. "Thought you were working in the kitchen," she said, her tone just a bit too innocent. I lied. Too loud in there. Figured I'd get some reading done here. She nodded, glanced around, then picked up her charger and walked out, humming again. As soon as she turned the corner, I exhaled, slow and measured. Close. Too close. I needed to accelerate. That night, I started phase 3, isolation. The key to a clean revenge is not in how loud it lands. It's in how alone it leaves the target when it does. Natalie had friends. Not many, but enough. Two of them, Monica and Elise, had defended her through every petty disagreement over the years. They were her echo chamber, her court of opinion, her inner circle. So I started quietly, removing them. It wasn't hard. See, when someone cheats, they rarely keep the betrayal perfectly compartmentalized. Eventually, it leaks. In the form of bragging, or oversharing, or just misjudging who's actually loyal. Monica, for instance, was fiercely loyal to Natalie. But she also had a penchant for screenshots. And a boyfriend who liked to talk. A few messages here, a few subtle nudges, and Monica found herself caught between protecting Natalie and protecting herself. She chose self-preservation. One night, she sent me a screenshot. Nats is lucky Logan's so clueless. I'd have dumped his boring but ages ago. Woman shrugging. Another. He still brings her flowers on Fridays. Chase thinks it's hilarious. I didn't respond. Just filed it. Monica was out. Elise was trickier. She wasn't involved, but she suspected something. And in her mind, suspicions weren't red flags, they were tools for leverage. So I met Elise for coffee. Told her I was planning a surprise vow renewal for Natalie. Need your help, I said. Just want to make her feel loved. Elise was flattered. Said Natalie didn't deserve me. Said she'd keep things hush-hush. Which was exactly what I wanted. People who think they're part of a secret tend to spill it to the wrong person, eventually. I gave it a week. Elise told her hairdresser. The hairdresser told Monica. Monica told Natalie. Natalie confronted me 2 nights later in the kitchen. You're planning something? I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Never mind. She tried to sound casual. Failed. I smiled. If I were, you'd ruin the surprise. She looked confused. Uncomfortable. Good. That night, she went to bed early. I stayed up late. Logged into our shared Dropbox. In a hidden folder I'd created, buried between vacation photos and tax documents, I added a video. Not of her and Chase. Not yet. But enough audio to make her stomach turn. Can you believe he still kisses me goodnight? He has no idea. Her voice. From a call I'd recorded through the home office line, when she thought I was at a conference. It was like preparing a banquet for someone who'd stolen your food for years. I wasn't just setting the table. I was choosing the music, the lighting, the guest list. And there'd only be one chair at the table when dinner was served. Thursday morning. Natalie left early. Said she had a big meeting downtown. But something was different. Her goodbye was clipped. A little too polite. She kissed my cheek, not my lips. Didn't look me in the eyes. That meant she knew something. She wasn't sure what, not yet. But her paranoia had caught up to her ego. I let her go. Then I made 2 phone calls. One to a family lawyer. The other to her boss. Just wanted to ask about the company's policy on interoffice relationships, I said. Hypothetically, of course. If, say, a department head was sleeping with a subordinate, is that something HR would be concerned about? There was silence on the other end of the line. Hypothetically, he said, voice tight. Yes. Very concerned. I thanked him. Hung up. Smiled. Because now it wasn't just about love or lies. It was about leverage. That weekend, I took Emma out for ice cream. We sat on a park bench while she smeared vanilla across her cheeks and told me about school drama like it was national news. And I listened, truly listened, because through all the games and manipulation, she was still ours. Still innocent. I wasn't going to hurt Natalie by hurting Emma. That wasn't the plan. But the next step? It would change everything. Because next week, I was going to send Natalie an email. From a private address. With one sentence. You left the hotel room key in your coat pocket. Tell Chase I said thanks. And attached to that message? A calendar invite. To our anniversary dinner. At a quiet restaurant we used to love. A two-top by the window. A place with white linen napkins and soft jazz. And an envelope with her name on it already waiting on the table. Inside that envelope? Every document. Every photo. Every message. And a single note. I would have forgiven the lie. But I can't forgive the performance. The night of the dinner came draped and quiet. Not tension. Not dread. Just quiet. That eerie, pre-storm stillness that only comes when something is about to break and everyone involved knows it. They're just too polite to admit it. I got there first. Of course I did. That was the point. The restaurant hadn't changed in years. Same candles, same jazz, same tired maitre d' who greeted me like I'd never left. I nodded, requested our usual spot by the window, and sat with my back to the door. Not because I was nervous, but because I wanted her to see me before I saw her. I had her envelope on the table already. White, thick, a little weighty, a bouquet of finality, sealed with grace. I ordered a glass of the Merlot she liked. I didn't drink it. 7:05 p.m., she was late. Not enough to be rude, but enough to make it clear she was thinking, planning, trying to stay ahead of a story she hadn't realized was already over. At 7:08 p.m., I smelled her perfume before I heard her footsteps. Lavender. Like always. She rounded the corner, I sweeping the room until they landed on me. She smiled, a little too tightly, like someone meeting a lawyer, not a husband. I stood, politely. She leaned in to kiss my cheek, and I let her. Again. Always let the guilty feel the warmth before the frostbite. You look nice, she said, sitting across from me. So do you. I gestured to the wine. Your favorite. Her smile flickered. I didn't expect this. It's thoughtful. 10 years, I said. Deserved something memorable. The waiter arrived. She ordered salmon. I didn't order anything. You're not eating? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Already ate, I replied. I'm just here for dessert. She blinked. The waiter left. Natalie folded her napkin into her lap with the precision of a woman trying very hard to control a narrative. So, what's this about? A surprise? A talk? I slid the envelope across the table. She stared at it. Didn't touch it. What is it? She asked. Evidence, I said calmly. A beat of silence. Of what? I tilted my head. You know what? She exhaled slowly. Logan, I don't want to do this here. That makes two of us. But here we are. She reached for the envelope with a hand that barely trembled. She opened it, pulled out the first page. Her face drained of color before she'd even reached the second. I watched her read, page by page, photo by photo, message by message. She tried not to blink, tried not to react. But the tightening of her jaw, the stillness of her breath, the way she held the paper like it might shatter if she moved too fast, it was all reaction. When she reached the note at the bottom, she stopped. I was scanning the single sentence. I would have forgiven the lie, but I can't forgive the performance. She looked up. I never meant for you to find out like this. That's the problem, I said. You never meant for me to find out at all. Her fingers curled around the papers. So what now? You want a divorce? You want to blow it all up? No, I said, sipping my water. I already did. She froze. Check your email when you get home. Or don't. Either way, Chase won't be working at your firm come Monday. I spoke to HR, attached a few helpful files. She stared at me, stunned. You didn't. I did. She blinked rapidly. You could ruin him. I leaned in slightly. Funny. That's exactly what he tried to do to me. Her mouth opened, then shut again. She looked away. You should also expect a call from your mother. I sent her some of those texts. Not the photos, I'm not cruel. But just enough to answer the question she's been asking for years. Why isn't Logan smiling anymore? Her voice dropped to a whisper. You told my family? I told the truth. Whether they believe it is up to them. She looked down at her lap. And Emma? Emma is off limits, I said firmly. She'll know we're separating. She'll know it's mutual. She won't know why. That's between us. Natalie nodded. Slowly. Tears welled but didn't fall. Not here. Not in public. Why didn't you just leave? She whispered. Because I didn't want to be the man who walks away confused, I said. I wanted to understand. And now I do. She shook her head. You planned all this. Carefully, I said. With the same level of effort you put into your lies. I figured it was only fair. There was no screaming. No begging. No thrown wine glasses or shattered plates. Just two people, finally done pretending. When the bill came, I paid. I stood. You can keep the folder, I said. Frame it, if you want. A little scrapbook of decisions. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. We're done here. And with that, I walked out. Outside, the air was cool and honest. No more lavender. No more candlelight illusions. Just me, standing under a street lamp, alone, but not broken. Behind me, Natalie was still at the table, staring at the wreckage of her own choices. The performance was over. The curtain had dropped, and the audience had left the building. 2 days after the dinner, she moved out. No speech. No fight. Just a suitcase, a hollow look, and a final glance at the house like it had betrayed her too. I'll send for the rest, she said quietly. You do that. Emma was told we needed space. Just a grown-up thing, I said. No one's mad. No one's in trouble. She didn't ask many questions. Kids feel the truth long before they can explain it. She just hugged me tighter than usual that night. Natalie didn't cry. Not in front of me. Maybe not at all. Maybe she saved the tears for someone who hadn't already outgrown them. Chase Donovan, for instance. He sent me a message. You didn't have to ruin me, man. I didn't respond. I figured if I started typing, I'd accidentally invent new kinds of punctuation. His job? Gone. His reputation? Shattered. Not because I lied, but because I told the truth and attached receipts. HR doesn't like surprises. Neither do fiancés, apparently. His former fiancé found out everything the same week. Let's just say she didn't take it well. Some fires don't need gasoline. They just need daylight. I didn't lift a finger beyond pressing send. Justice wears a quiet suit sometimes. I started sleeping again. Not well. Not soundly. But without nightmares. That was new. The silence in the house wasn't deafening anymore. It was cleansing. Like the air after a thunderstorm, when everything feels oddly pure and honest. Emma and I made pancakes on Sundays. Bad ones. Flat, lumpy, burn on one side. But we laughed. We laughed. Natalie texted occasionally. Logistics. Stuff about the mortgage, Emma's school, bank accounts. I kept it short. Dry. Efficient. She called once. Said she was trying to find herself again. Like she'd gone missing in her own story. I hope you do, I said. But I won't be there when you do. She didn't respond. That silence. That was real closure. Mutual. Final.it came 3 months later. Handwritten. No return address. Logan, I used to think you were soft. Predictable. Safe. I didn't realize how strong you were until I watched you walk away from everything we built, without looking back. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know I see it now. The strength. The dignity. The restraint. You didn't lose me. I lost you. And I'm starting to understand what that really means. I read it once. Then twice. Then set it down. Did I feel vindicated? Not really. The war was over. I wasn't collecting trophies. I was rebuilding. And her words? They were just ashes. People always ask, if you could do it over again, would you have stayed? Tried to fix it? The answer's simple. No. Because love without respect is like a house without a foundation. You can hang pictures, rearrange furniture, light candles, but the floor still collapses beneath you. Natalie built something with me, then tunneled out of it behind my back. She gave another man what was supposed to be ours. She handed over our future for a few nights in a hotel and the thrill of secrecy. And I let her. For a while. But then I didn't. And that's what matters. I rebuilt my life without her. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. And now, I sleep through the night. I laugh with my daughter. I look in the mirror and see someone who didn't crumble. Someone who stood tall, made a plan, and walked through fire without flinching. That's not revenge. That's redemption. And it tastes a hell of a lot better. Even without the pot roast.